Hello, welcome to The Balancing Act, the interview series that takes a behind the scenes look at the world of business, exploring how entrepreneurs, executives, leaders have succeeded and what they learned through the process. I'm your host, Cary Shields. Today, we are joined by Tom Roentz, owner of ShadeMount LLC, I'll say a serial senior executive, currently looking for the next journey, the next opportunity he dives into. So, Tom, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, yeah. So, man, if you would, why don't you start us off by just telling us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Let's see. So I turned 50 in February. That I feel like this is the best time to be alive. I grew up in Illinois in a very small town, 1,000 people, very rural. Ended up at the University of Kentucky, where I kind of stayed. I've been here ever since. Got involved in horse racing. I was a huge fan of the sport. I was going through college. There's a racetrack here, and just became fell in love with the sport and had an opportunity to join it back in 2002. And so I did, and I stayed with the same company for 23 years and moved up to the ever increasing responsibilities until I was the director of operations for all the data collection within North American horse racing. So there are 37 jurisdictions in the United States that have sanctioned horse racing and 3 provinces in Canada.
Okay.
And all the information is collected and compiled, and the company that I work for would sell that to handicappers and bettors and people so they could lose their money just like I did. So I did that until November of last year, when it was time to move on. I'd reached a point where this isn't as fulfilling as I would like it to be.
Okay.
There's other opportunities I'd like to pursue, and we were in a spot where it was just, let's make a change. But it was a very interesting opportunity. I got to see a lot of interesting things within racing, and learned some valuable skills and some contacts that have kind of helped me along in my endeavors over the last 6 or 8 months, which I can get into a little bit.
Yeah.
It's just, it was, like I said, it was an interesting position, and it afforded me the opportunity to see some really interesting things.
Yeah. So the data collection, did you just have to, secure the data, or did you also have to, like mine the data for information at all?
So the funny thing about racing is, as an information industry, it kind of does information poorly. And even today, the information is collected the same way it was 100 years ago. Now we've added technology, and things aren't as manual, but the crux of the process is the same.
Right.
When a horse runs, there's somebody whose job it is to look through a pair of binoculars and say that this horse is in a certain position by a certain margin above the next horse and all the way through the field.
Okay.
And then, as the race unfolds, to continue to do that, it's up to 5 times a race. And then everyone, every race has a story written about it, essentially.
Yeah.
In the industry, it's called a footnote. And it's a verbal or a written description of how every horse in that race ran. So it kind of gives handicappers and bettors
Wow.
a visual that they can use,
Yeah.
and provide more information. So there's a lot of stuff that happens within horse racing within a horse race that you wouldn't necessarily see or recognize, but there are
Right.
people who are trained to do that. And so they can see that a horse maybe stumbled or was boxed in and didn't have any place to run. The next time that horse runs, someone has that information to say, well, if the horse had room to run, perhaps he would have finished better.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, that can change the betting odds and the betting decisions of people downstream.
Man, how many eyes are on any one race? Can't be just
Uh,
one person.
well, that depends. We
Oh,
have
wow.
races. There in racing in the United States anyway. There's somewhere around 5,000 race days and 50,000 races that occur on an
Oh my
annual basis.
gosh.
And we have some races, or there are some races where no one is watching, except for the people at the track, and then a
Right.
few people. And then you go all the way up to races like the Kentucky Derby, and the Preakness, the Belmont Stakes, and the Breeders' Cup races that happen at the end of the year, and it's millions. You
Yes.
know, there's 150,000 people at Churchill Downs on Derby Day. There's millions of people watching across the globe.
Hmm.
So a lot of eyes on that particular race.
Okay. All right. So at this time, was this that role, was that the first time of having a team, you know, that you had to, work with?
No, I would say it was a smaller team from a different area. So as I was moving my way up, part of my responsibility was seeing, that workforce. There's about 100 or so employees, give or take, because it's a seasonal and fluctuating business. So we could have anywhere from 90 to 110 people on staff at any given time.
Mhm.
And part of that was, I was responsible for a portion of them. Now, but then there was always someone above me at that point, making sure that things went the way they should go. I would say once I moved into the manager and director of operations role is when then I really had a team. Like I had a small group. We worked very closely together for a lot of years, and then I was responsible for making sure they did everything that had to be done for the entire department.
Yeah. What what did you look for when you had to choose a new member for your
Well,
team?
fortunately, it was a small team. Unfortunately, I inherited one, and she was good. She had a lot of experience. She actually started before me.
Mhm.
She knew the industry inside and out, and um, had very good contacts and a specific skill set within a particular brand of racing that I still don't have. Quarter horses are different than thoroughbreds, and I won't get into all that, but I don't understand them as well.
Okay.
And she does. And so it's still a big portion of what they do.
Wow.
When we did go to expand, we were looking for someone who knew the industry,
Mhm.
had a very solid understanding of what racing is,
Okay.
had a good reputation within the industry because it is kind of a small knit community, and understood what the job would entail. So, it's one thing to look at it from one perspective and say, that having a complete or excellent race chart is the most important thing. And then there's another side that says, well, you have to balance the most excellent race chart with how much is it going to cost to get there. And you have to find the way to make those trade-offs to where neither one of them suffer to any great extent. And someone who understood that is what we were looking for.
Yeah. So when did you first start feeling that drive or push to venture off and try other things?
Uh, the ShadeMount was really, I think, honestly, sorry to jump around a bit, but I
No, it's
think
okay.
it's drive um, pretty consistently for most of my career. It's just a matter of where is it going to head, and how do I engage it,
Mhm.
Um, and there's all sorts of things that go into that. Do you have the funds? Are you in the right spot with your family? Can can you manage? Can you find something that's going to give you that sort of desire to move on or move out?
Mhm.
But when ShadeMount came into being, that was really like, okay, this is something we should pursue.
Nice.
This was let's give this a shot. And that's really kind of where it all started, and how it developed.
What
And
inspired the creation of ShadeMount?
it's a kind of a funny story. It's my wife and I's first house together.
Mhm.
It had a patio that faced the setting sun. And so it's an umbrella product that you put on your deck rail. And the reason it came in to being was we would sit out there in the evening to try to have dinner, and it would just be miserable. It would be so hot, and the glare, because the
Right.
sun's 6:30 or so at night when you have dinner with 3-year-olds.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
which is what kind of our kids were at the time, or at least one of them. It
Yeah.
was just, it was unpleasant, and it kind of ruined the whole experience.
Yeah.
And so I try to find a way to fix it, or find something that could make it better for us. And I didn't find anything. I searched the internet for months and months, looking for something that could solve this problem for us. And it didn't exist. So I tinkered in the garage, which I kind of tend to do anyway,
Yeah.
and got some pieces from Lowe's, just some metal, and scrap something together and say, this is something that could work,
Yeah.
to a machine shop and said, build me this out of something more durable, exactly like this.
Yeah.
And the first design, it didn't really work very well. It was a tube, and I couldn't get the umbrella to hold in the tube. So I had to
Okay.
I had to change plans a little bit. But that really, it was necessity. It was, we have this problem. I can't find anything to fix it. Here, let me put
Yeah.
something together, and hey,
Yeah.
this will work. And oh, look, everybody on our street has the exact same problem,
Yeah.
because they're all facing the same way. Everybody's deck's
Yeah.
facing the same direction, and they all have the same problem. Like, we could sell this. This
Yeah.
could be beneficial.
So then you went and put together, I guess probably you submitted for the patent, probably, or
Yeah,
yeah.
I did the provisional patent through LegalZoom, and then I got the full
Yeah.
design patent. I had to think all of this is being done pretty much by myself at 5 o'clock in the mornings and things like that, because that's when I chose to start my work day. It
Right.
was,
Yeah.
I could either work at night and miss the time with my kids, or I could get
Yeah.
up at 4 o'clock in the morning and do the work and build the website and handle the accounting and all that. And so that's what I chose to do. And it's still my schedule now. I'm still up about 3:30 or 4 every day, because it's just a better time to start.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, yeah, I went through the patent process. We did hire a local attorney here to file the official design patent for us. And then, got it awarded in, I think, 2013.
Wow. Well, that is awesome. And so from there, like it's maintaining it, keeping it going and getting, do you only sell straight to customers or do you, B2Bs like they keep building new homes with the same patios and decks, luckily for you, ShadeMount.
Yeah, we do have an e-commerce platform. We did sell on our website and actually had some success, which I thought was amazing, to get this product, on a random website on the internet and to sell any of them. But we
Right.
did okay on that. Right now we're selling on Wayfair. We added Home Depot in 22. We
Wow.
added Walmart in 23. And we just went live on Lowe's last month.
Wow.
So we're on each of those web platforms, each of those e-commerce platforms for those stores.
What a success. Man, that's incredible. Was there, in that early period, was there any like real hard moments where you felt this might not happen? Did you have any of those kind
Oh,
of?
I still have them. I think, you know, I still have them. It's been a great ride, but it's not something that's really going to change the needle for us. So
Okay.
it's, unfortunately, ShadeMount's probably coming to the end of its life, but it was, even with those platforms, their
Mhm.
pricing is a challenge. Our marketing is obviously a challenge.
Yeah.
Uh, expenses and just the time devoted to it, really, and
Yeah.
having the ability, because you can't do it all as much, however much you think you can. You
Hmm.
really need to go outside yourself and find people who are experts in different areas like marketing, which we've started to do. this year, a little bit last year. Before then, it was pretty much myself and my wife doing, our marketing. And
Hmm.
we had some great successful years, but we really got hit with the prices of steel.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that tripled essentially in
Yeah.
22.
Yeah.
And so our manufacturing costs went up, which meant our wholesale costs went up, which meant our retail price, offerings went up. And it's probably overpriced where we are right now. I think it's more of a 90 or 89, $89 product, $80 product.
Hmm.
But given where we are with manufacturing, we just can't reach that number.
Oh,
Uh,
wow. Yeah.
so that's the unfortunate thing.
Yeah.
But like I said, it was a very worthwhile experience,
Yeah.
even if it doesn't, yeah, we might still take off this year, you never know. But if it doesn't, it was still a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a big process, learned a lot, and really just had a lot of fun doing it.
Cool. What would you say was the greatest thing you learned from it? If you learned anything, what would you say you learned from it?
Don't give up.
Wow.
Don't give up. I've told this story to my kids a couple of times because we're trying to, as I'm trying to expand our retail base and get the product out in front of more people.
Hmm.
I would spend hours just cold calling companies,
Yeah.
calling people at Lowe's and scouring the internet for contact information. And there's really some kind of maybe some scary even apps that you can add to LinkedIn to get more detailed information.
Hmm.
Um, and I would spend hours and we get, go months and have no response. Um, like literally no one would call you back. No one would pick up the phone and answer the email.
Right.
And, so I remember this specifically, and this is what I've kind of conveyed to my kids. I was at the gym, which I go to every day, and thinking to myself, you know what? Don't stop. Don't quit,
Hmm.
because you never know. The next one might be successful.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is that day, I called, I had my list of calls, and 3 of them picked up. It was the first time I'd spoken to anybody on ShadeMount in months, maybe
Months.
a whole year.
Yeah.
It might
Yeah.
have been 3 or 4 or 5 months that I've been trying to do this.
Yes.
And, because you get these random calls from people and,
Hmm.
you don't pick up until you leave a message and, it's like, I'm not calling it back up, whatever.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But for whatever reason that day, I had 2 or 3 people pick up. And like I said, that was the first contact that I'd had in months.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, now it's all worth it. All of like forget the 4 months that you had being, kind of ignored by everybody. It's all gone now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I have new life.
Yeah.
So I get that to my kids as like, look, don't quit. If you really want to do this, then you're going to take some lumps and it's going to hurt and it's going to suck, but you'll get over it. You'll be fine. And you never know. The next one might be the right one.
Yeah. And then, yeah, start again the next day. A
Yeah.
lot of people, that I have met that want to do this, I think they have that steadfastness, but it's often that first step or the commitment of, I have to work, so I can keep putting food on the table and keep the roof over the head. But I have my own personal free time and muscling down, like, okay, I'm going to get up earlier to start my day earlier to work on this idea that I have. I mean, that says it all to me. And that's very common. And then once the ball's rolling, eventually it becomes the sole thing that you have to get done. And of course, the hours always get busier. But first rule of business, don't
Yeah.
quit.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of if we go back to the, something we said before, might even be off camera is, stubbornness or stupidity. I don't know which one it is, maybe a little bit of both, but, it's, Yeah, it's a challenge. Hell, so the funny thing about that, it also, and I think I mentioned this off camera, that my wife's cousin has called me about this process that
Oh, yeah.
he wants to bring to market. And so he's asking me all these questions, and one of the things was, was it worth it? I'm like, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was absolutely worth it. Even if it doesn't make us millionaires, or even if it doesn't, whatever, it doesn't do anything,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, I invented a product that thousands of people enjoyed, and I'm in the official record book as a patented inventor. And,
Hmm. Yes.
uh, but he's also asking, would you do all the work again? I'm like, I absolutely would do all the work again, because that's the fun part. Doing the work is the fun part of the whole process, because you're building something. You're
Yeah.
trying to build something. You're trying to create something and get it from A to B. And
Yeah.
like I said, there's a lot of lumps. There's a lot of questioning. There's a lot of why am I doing this? But at the end of the day, you look back and say, yeah, I did that. And I had fun doing it. And I would do
Yeah.
it absolutely all over again.
I love it. I love it. Was there anything, before you started on ShadeMount, all the previous work you did, especially the company, 23 years, like moving up in the ranks, was there any part of that, employment experience that helped you when you began with ShadeMount?
Uh, so I would say yes, as a matter of fact, as I think about it more, you know, it forced me to be in front of people more. So my position
Hmm.
carried with it, like I had people I had to report to, and I had to give presentations on a monthly basis and say, this is the state of my business unit. And
Yes.
my business unit was the largest
In
in the,
that, yeah,
it's $4 million on a $30 million company. And,
yeah,
um, it's the largest single line item in the entire building. Um, and it's the most complicated because you had 100 employees scattered across the country.
right.
Uh,
Okay.
like I said, it's also the backbone of the entire racing industry, because without the data, the rest of the
Right.
racing isn't going to survive.
Yeah.
So, as I moved into those bigger roles, I had to be in front of people more often.
Okay.
And, when I started, it was a miserable experience. I mean, I literally would write down my entire presentation. I would have it all.
Right.
And then I would sit in my office and I would practice it like they tell you to do in speech class. You practice it. You go in front of the mirror and you practice it there.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
would be a nervous wreck
Mhm.
all day. It would be the only thing that I did that entire day.
Yes. Yeah.
It was just preparing for this particular presentation.
Yeah.
And as the more I did them and the more I matured and the more I developed just as an individual, the less nervous I got,
Hmm.
to the point, by the time I left, I didn't even prepare. Like I put my list together of this are the things I want to talk about.
Yeah.
The rest of it was just, look, this stuff inside and out.
Yeah.
Um, you're not worried about making a mistake. Uh, and so having that skill, like becoming a good presenter,
Hmm.
I wouldn't say I was forced to, but I forced myself to,
Hmm. Okay.
to overcome that particular, fear that everyone has.
Yeah.
Um, to the point where I kind of I enjoy it. I kind of enjoy it now. I don't dread being in front of crowds or giving
Right.
presentations.
Yeah.
Um, even if they're, a little bit intimidating. Because it's more exhilarating, it's more fun
Hmm.
to do that. And that skill is something I forced myself to do over the course of my career. And I think that really helped me overcome the fear of cold calling people
Yes.
to get, to make those calls on ShadeMount,
Yeah.
to reach out, to call someone every day for 2 months until they pick up the phone.
Yes.
And so I think that would be the biggest thing that I gained from my position that I transferred over to ShadeMount.
Very cool. Yeah. I would have guessed. And so, yeah, I'm glad that's because you had to present it. You had to make the cold calls. And then when you connected, you had to present it. And
Mhm.
the presentation is what, people have to connect to the product. They have to understand it and connect to it and to understand where its value comes in to the market. So yeah, it would absolutely take presentation. And the presentation it's already there when you're the expert of it, just like you were in the horse racing, just like you absolutely were on the product that you invented, right? The purpose
Yeah,
of it, functionality of it. You were the expert. And so being the expert, you can't possibly do the wrong thing or say the wrong thing. And yeah, so that's awesome. That's really great. I'm sure a lot of people that will listen to this that will be the seed they need to like, of course, I am the expert. I can't
yeah,
just,
I
I
that's
can do
yeah,
it.
having
Yeah.
that and just the confidence that you are the expert, so even if you don't present something, even if you're not a good presenter and you really dread being in front of people,
Yeah.
you're still the foremost knowledge on whatever it is that this particular topic is.
Yeah.
And so that's all you have to do is talk about what you know and forget about the presentation. Just talk what you know, and
Yeah.
that will be the presentation. And you can sell it that way. You can be just a genuine person talking about something that you're passionate about, and that will come out, and
Yeah.
people will recognize the passion that you have, and
Yeah.
it'll resonate with people.
So do you, keeping your options open, the possibilities, for something to get into in the future are clearly endless. Is there any area you're looking towards that you're
Well,
curious about or
I've actually found one. So,
all right.
um, you know, we, I've done some consulting with a firm out of England, and so I spent 3 weeks in Germany in March, and doing something similar to what I did before, so it's something related,
Okay.
and that was fantastic. I'd never been to Germany. I
Yeah.
had never, I'd never been gone for 3 weeks. I used to travel quite a bit, but it was usually much shorter trips.
Mhm.
Um, I'm just tell that story because I still have the opportunity to do that. So I may end up going back. And it was, like I said, it was a fantastic experience that I never would have had the opportunity to do had I stayed it with my previous company. Um,
Yeah.
and I tell this story because it's surreal, when you're in this situation. I'm at this racetrack in the middle of the Germany, and I don't speak any German, and the people I'm speaking with don't speak any English, and there's one person who speaks a little bit of both, and
Okay.
so we're all trying to communicate together, and at the same time, everybody's having fun. Like I'm making jokes, and I'm making these people laugh, even though I don't speak the same language,
Right.
and we're just all having this great time conversing, even though nobody's really speaking the same language. And I'm sitting back and thinking, this is, how did this little kid from, Grafton, Illinois end up in the middle of Germany having this conversation? And it was just one of the most amazing things I've ever experienced. Um, so I still have the opportunity to do some of that. And that's amazing. Aside from that, my father and I decided to purchase a company, and we actually closed on it
Hmm.
at the end of March. And so we're in the process now of knowledge acquisition
Yeah.
in how do we learn everything that we need to learn, um, so that we can look for ways to improve, so we can really understand how to operate the business. It was
Okay.
both new to both of us.
Okay.
Um, and so that's what's been occupying my time for the last, well, let's see, I got back from Germany on the 24th. I closed on the 29th, and then we had already had a trip planned for spring break. And so it's been a interesting month. to say the least.
Yeah.
Um, but so that's that's what I'm going to do moving forward. I give the opportunity for one to work with my dad.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Um, and so that's great because you only have so much time, and like I said, I turned 50 a couple of months, a
Yeah.
month ago, 6 weeks ago.
Okay.
And also gives us the opportunity to build something, even greater
Yeah.
than what we've been able to this point.
Do you want to share what that is or not?
Yeah,
Not.
we're going to do waterproofing of roadways and bridges, so we'll be part of the infrastructure of the United States. So we'll be part of that whole package.
Oh,
Uh,
wonderful.
and it's a necessity, and it's not going anywhere.
Yes.
And there's infrastructure all over the country that provides opportunity for us. So
Great.
it's like I said, it's new to us. My dad's been in construction, for most of his life, and I have not, but I'm really good at planning and organizing, especially in remote locations, and
Okay.
very task oriented. When this just fits
Yeah.
with, I think, what my skill set is. And it's not the most glamorous job, but I don't need glamour. I need fulfillment to provide that.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna provide a good life for my family and leave something for my kids, maybe. And like I said, get a chance to work with my dad.
I love it, man. It's super exciting. So now that makes me want to like reach back out to you in maybe 6 months and see if you'll come back and share. Like, yeah, I'm 50 and did it again, and it's the same mountain to climb, and it's just as fun to climb it, just as difficult and just as fun. So,
Yeah, it's like the stuff in Germany and the work, and I was telling this to my colleague that sent me over there. It's like, you're working like crazy. These are the days where you've got a job to do. You've only got X number of days to do it, and you can't go back because it's $1,500 round trip just to fly there.
right, right.
So everything has to be done, and you don't know where anything is. You can't go to a hardware store and pick out the tools you want because everything's metric and no one speaks
Wow.
English.
Hmm.
And so you're scrambling for all week to get this done, to
Yeah,
accomplish it. And I've done this before. My track record's still intact.
yeah,
I show up and I
yeah.
figure out how to get it done, and then it gets done. And you look back and say, that was really hard. And I would absolutely do it all over again because that was really fun.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. Man, well, thank you very much. My last question I'll ask is if someone wants to reach out to you, I mean, in any realm, because clearly you're very capable of organizing, understanding what is needed, and then striving towards that. If someone wants to work with you, wants to get in touch with you, how would you prefer that they reach out to you?
I think the best way would be to send me a LinkedIn message because that's going to curates the contact. Make sure that you put you saw me on Cary Shields podcast, and that way I'll know that you're legit, and it's you're not just trying to sell me a car warranty or something. Um,
Yeah,
but I think that'd be the best way.
awesome. Tom, thank you. All right, well, to the viewers and listeners, that wraps up another episode of The Balancing Act. Hope it was enjoyable and valuable. Again, my name is Cary Shields, and until the next time, stay in balance.